Hey everybody, welcome back.
Hello, we're back.
Okay,
It's Joffrey week,
unfortunately.
unfortunately.
So
Man, this guy just stinks.
literally. So there's something kind of funny about these next few issues that we're about to talk about because I kind of feel like that they're making up for lost time. Like these 5 issues overall are in a set that is often referred to as well, it's literally referred to as Sonic Quest, but it's uh let let's just kind of get into it. So, oh man, forgot how small of an image that is. Okay, issue 41. This is a very famous cover that I have made fun of a few times. This is where I honestly think Sonic Archie leaves classic and becomes something else.
Yeah,
Personally.
I label this as the intermediate art style time, where they're starting to find their art style stride.
Which is actually kind of interesting because I I instantly started reading this one and I'm like, oh, this is why this one is stuck in my head forever. So, so Penders is on script, but um, I forget his first name, but Hunter is currently on art. He's usually the colorist guy, so it's very interesting to see him like actually take on the full lead when it comes to art for a bit, you
Oh
know?
yeah, and he didn't do a bad job with most of the characters. Sally has her eternal like a weird-eyed stare, but I don't think there's any fixing that.
Yeah, honestly, it really does remind me of. Now, I am saying this in the most charitable way possible. It literally feels like those old. It gives me a lot of the vibes of fan-made art of Sonic comics, which is like
Yeah,
not something that usually you would like say with like high praise, but like there was a lot of really talented Sonic fans out there that have eventually wormed
yeah.
their way into making official stuff. Speaking of which,
Oh yeah.
not sure if you saw, but Tracy Yardley just announced the project that he had been working on is in fact making a Magic the Gathering cards of Sonic the Hedgehog. And it's like, oh yeah,
Oh,
I
that's gonna be so cool.
I instantly recognized your art style, and
It's like you could definitely tell it's you.
seeing Tails on a card of Fabricate of him just working on the tornado is so cute, and I'm like, this is amazing. I
Yeah.
love this.
Oh yeah.
Also, Supersonic is its own card, and it is an equip that you put onto a monster, and everyone just went, this is the most powerful card in Magic right now. I am not even kidding. Because it just goes, this thing is indestructible now. It's like, uh-oh. So, I started reading this, and I instantly started feeling dread, and I don't remember why, and then I paused, and I went, oh no, it has Miller dialogue. So, did you
Yeah.
notice that it does the
Uh-huh.
the Frank Miller bold text to say emphasis on the certain words.
Yeah. I did. I
And
didn't remember Frank Miller because I strive to live my entire life thinking he stopped at Sin City and the original Batman v the Superman comic, and then he suddenly disappeared off of the face of the earth
yeah, the second
and
nine
didn't
eleven
write
happened, he
any other
disappeared.
comics after that.
The
Oh yeah,
second
but don't know what happened to him. I'm sure he would have written some wild comics, but it's just a shame he disappeared.
Yeah, I was gonna read a few of them, but I kind of don't want
No,
to be honest.
no,
No, no, as in like,
you don't.
no, no, no. I was gonna read some of the dialogue in this issue to like kind of show the inflection, but to be honest,
Oh,
I can't
okay.
find a good one that actually like really shows it off. But all I'll say is that as you're reading, you'll just see like this bold text, and what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to be like, okay, let me just find one. Is Okay, so there was a line by Rotor, and he says
Oh yeah.
truer words are never spoken, princess. In fact, it's even worse than I feared. And it's like, yeah, we get what you're doing, where it's like certain words need emphasis, but man, you don't need to do that because it makes it feel weird to read. Because in the
Oh
back of
yeah.
your
It
mind,
makes it feel like
yeah, you're
it
putting
makes it feel like the SpongeBob like uppercase, lowercase words on every single one, and I just can't take it seriously at that point.
mhm. So, going for the actual story at hand, uh, Sonic, Sonic and Joffrey are basically brought into the same room with each other because Sally needs both of them to come onto the same quest into the Zone of Silence to recover King
She could have
Acorn.
just grabbed Anton again, or Bunny. Bunny would have been way more
Unfortunately,
combat friendly.
Bunny and Antoine are quote unquote lost in the woods and cannot be found for a few days. Uh,
Ugh.
and so
And like Joffrey straight up pulls a weapon on Sonic to kill him in broad daylight.
although it is really funny
At
for
that
Sonic,
point, get the guy off the payroll.
Sonic then starts talking smack through his after image, which is very funny and very very in
Oh
line with
yeah,
Sonic, to be fair.
yeah. At least someone's still on brand.
So King Acorn is basically in the Zone of Silence, and it's very clear that he is not like seeing the things that are actually there because the place is basically corrupting his mind to the point where he doesn't even know when and where he is. And to be fair, the Zone of Silence is a very weird place where time and space don't really mean anything. So they're able to
Mm-hmm.
like see things from the past and the future, and they're getting a bunch of information about what the Zone of Silence is doing the King Acorn, but not really what it is. It's just this weird zone that does things, which
Well, if
eventually.
they quickly define what it does right now, they won't be able to actually decide what the thing does in the future. So they have to keep it vague.
So after all of this, like running around, seeing a bunch of visions and stuff, uh, Joffrey and Sally have to basically share the same jetpack to get out, as Sonic basically knocks King Acorn out, so he can get him back into the portal, and the comic ends with no B-side for once, of them
Yep.
retrieving King Acorn from the Zone of Silence. Job well done and accomplished. Not really, but like they
Yeah.
they did what they could.
Uh huh.
So I sat on this for a while, and I kind of want to give this one a bronze just because it was so dreadful to read at times, and it's so confusing to
Well, it
read
was
at times.
it was anticlimactic in a
Yeah,
lot of ways.
I'm guessing you agree.
Yeah, it was a bronze. It would have
And
been a silver, but Joffrey was there.
then we have 3 issues of a miniseries that is actually mainline. This is a miniseries that you can't really skip, and there's no good way to uh to kind of gloss over what is happening. You kind of needed to have read them because they're important for everything that happens afterwards.
Yeah.
Like this is unironically
And the art
the
is
second most, yeah.
weirdly proportional in this. Like everything is correctly proportioned and way too human. It's super weird. But I don't hate it. I don't dislike the art.
So the full storyline is written by Mike Gallagher, and we have Manny Galligan on the art. I'm not sure if we've seen his name before, but I honestly kind of liked the art style in Sonic Quest up until a certain point.
Hmm.
There
I
was a
think I know
point.
exactly the point you're talking about.
I was like, I'm like, this is what I wrote in my note. This art style is weird. I kind of like it. Immediately next line, I take it back. I hate this Robotnik and Snively.
Yeah. It's like if only we could combine the art style of the sapient characters with Spazentine's Robotnik and Snively, it would be perfect. And we're gonna get that eventually.
Okay, so
Yeah, but Snively especially looks super weird.
let's start on Sonic Quest 1. So this is the final mini-series of the classic era, and to be honest, I think it's the best one. And that says a lot, because this one's oddly inconsequential, while also, like, you have to know what happens into it. It kind of starts and ends and is a comprehensive story that kind of happens in the background of the comics. You could technically skip it, but at the same time, it's important for literally everything that happens later. Because so much gets introduced here that comes back later that out of all the miniseries, this is the one that you actually need to read.
Yeah.
So, Robotnik's plan is to make a giant is to make a giant artificial moon and do something with it. I don't think we ever
I
learn
think he
in this
just
whole.
wanted to make a giant moon to eclipse the sun. Maybe just because he could.
I don't even think it's
Maybe he
that.
wanted to freeze the earth.
No,
Well, it's
that's
the
Sonic
first thing
X.
he does with it.
Uh,
Yeah.
so let's start from the beginning. So Joffrey is basically brought to their headquarters, and Sally is like, "Okay, so Joffrey, we need you to pick up where you left off." And it's like, "What do you mean by that?" "Well, we have the king here, and we need you to be his personal bodyguard for a bit." "Okay." And then they enter the room and goes, "Unfortunately, he's turning into a Chaos Emerald, so it's kind of he can't really move, but you just gotta kind of need to keep track of him." And Joffrey's like, "What the heck happened?" And it goes, "It's been a long week." And it goes, "Here, let me explain. Sonic became mechanized. We put him on trial. There was an earthquake that almost killed everyone, and we got the king back. Does that solve everything?" And he goes, "Kind of."
I mean, I was there for one of those things. I think I would have liked to be there for the arrest. I could have arrested him for you.
Uh, so while they're all trying to figure out what's going on, Sonic recovers his 1 billionth magic ring and brings it next to the king to try to see if the magical energy will help him. And while it does kind of jumpstart his brain to being able to like work properly, it only does it for a little bit and it looks like it kind of puts him in pain. So he's like, let's not
Yeah.
do that again.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what else could we do? And it goes, well, maybe we just need different rings because that one's tuned in with Sonic, so maybe we just need a better ring.
Or
And
fresher rings.
And
Yeah.
they're like, well, we have two locations. We have the hidden pond, and we have the special zone under the lake. The special zone under the lake is drained, so all that we have is the hidden pond that's near Robotropolis. And it's like, well, why don't we just go get the rings, see how many we could grab, and then come back? It's like, okay. Meanwhile, Robotnik and Snively are hatching their long sought after plan. Robotnik basically goes, I am moving my base into the sky to be on the Death Egg. That way, there's no real way that Sonic can reach me up there, and I could keep doing all my evil stuff. And Snively goes, okay, so what am I supposed to do? It goes, You're in control of Robotropolis for now. Goodbye. And then Snively goes,
Yeah, don't disappoint me type of stuff.
it goes, don't let it get to
Like
your head.
you babysit while I'm gone.
It goes, don't let it get to your head. And then he immediately goes, okay, SWAT I need you to change all of the official signatures on to Snivotropolis. And we need that effectively as soon as you can. I was like, great, nice to know that he's keeping a level head on this one.
Nice to know that things never change around here.
So while so sorry, while Sonic and Tails are heading back, they find out that the hidden pond now has uh this massive cover over it, and they're like, what's up with this? As Tails is investigating further, a sky tube comes down and sucks up all the rings and the water from the environment. Uh, as we learn later, the SWAT bot that was on duty for this accidentally sucks up way too much water and gets a bunch of trees and a Tails stuck into there. So Tails gets up onto the Death Egg completely on accident.
Yeah,
So meanwhile, Sonic is trying to meet up with one of the members of the spy of the spy corps, whatever they're called. And as you're just watching the Death Egg kind of eclipse the sun for a bit, he gets attacked by what was the name again? Carl Condor, which I had to do a double take to make sure that this wasn't the Eagle guy from like a few issues back. And it's like, oh, Carl's been roboticized. That's not a good thing. And Carl basically drags him up to the Death Egg. Uh, we then we then have a shot inside the Death Egg where Robotnik finds out that like they have to like manually sort through all of the stuff to find the rings because there's so much debris in there, and he just chucks the SWAT bot into the garbage chute um for their lack of thinking. And Robotnik basically poses in his little control tower with like his like fuzzy dice and like a special like stick shift. And
yeah.
and he's like this is the ultimate weapon of destruction. I'm like, I don't think we see you do anything with it. Are we just to assume that it does the same stuff that the Death Star does in Star Wars, or are we supposed to assume that it does something else?
I'm gonna guess it's he intended it to do Star Wars shenanigans,
So
and then he just forgot to put on a laser.
how do you feel about Sonic's brown eyes during this whole miniseries, by the way? It feels so
Uh,
weird to see him
it's
with
weird
brown.
to see his eyes with color.
Yeah, usually they're just this black dots. So to see him
Well,
have any,
in some of the shots, I can't see the color. I am partially colorblind, so I don't think I really notice
you definitely see it
in
when
most
he's
of it.
like when they first approach the hidden pond, the not quite so hidden
Yeah,
pond anymore. Uh,
there's some of them where his face is closer up and it's easier for me to see, but in some of these shots, I just can't make it out.
yeah. Also, I don't really like the Death Egg actually looking like an egg. It feels weird for it to not be a total sphere like it is in the video games.
Well, at least it's not false advertising.
I'm guessing that they made it an egg just in case there was any sort of like lawsuit about like it being a little bit too close to the actual Death Star.
Yeah, for the
Okay,
best.
so I'm gonna preemptively give Sonic Quest 1 a silver, and we're gonna go back to talk about Sonic Quest 1 in particular. But honestly, I feel like Sonic Quest 1, 2, and 3 has like this slightly like increasing quality as you go through it, you know? Uh did you write down
Yeah.
a score for Quest 1 in particular or just Quest overall?
Um. Well, they've all kind of got the same score, so it didn't really wind up mattering.
Okay. We'll talk about it in a bit, but we then get to Quest 2. One second. We get to Quest 2, which halfway through reading this, I realized that I actually really enjoyed this miniseries a lot more than I remembered. And it's because of one in particular thing. So Tails is sitting inside the trash compactor of the Death Egg, because of course he has to get their like reverse of like how they do it in Star Wars. Uh, and he's looking through all of the trash into there to try to like figure out like what's gonna happen, a way to get out. And he finds the SWAT bot's armor from earlier, the one that got sent down the chute. And I blinked at it and went, "Wait a second." It's like, is this a whole series of events? Robotnik just setting up
Just
the
Star Wars.
ways, yeah, setting up the ways that he is going to fail. And again,
I
this is
mean,
a
doesn't he usually?
I know, but like this is like a really weird chain of events that like oddly really fits. So Sonic, in the meanwhile, is fighting Carl Condor in the middle of the sky, and he's really like putting up a fight. And Tails, as is Star Wars, dresses up as a SWAT bot, gets up onto the platform, and then he activates the trash compactor early to jettison all the assorted trash out. And Sonic looks up as all the trash is falling down onto them, and he uses the opportunity to jump up the trash to get up onto the Death Egg. And I sat there and went, "This is an interesting series of events that is oddly cogent." Like I am not used to this level of like odd planning for how these characters got up onto the Death Egg. Oftentimes, well, not the Death Egg specifically, but like it's like usually the characters will just appear somewhere. Like them
Yeah.
doing the whole trek up is very fascinating to me. How it's like I totally understand this. This is all believable about how all these dominoes fell in place. And I
Because
nodded my
Sonic
head.
would definitely take opportunity when it shows up. He's not really good at long term thinking, but he is good at the short term thinking.
Yeah, and I just kind of sat there and nodded my head and went, "This isn't. This is actually a pretty cool series of events. I am surprised." Meanwhile, Sally is like, "Where the heck is Sonic and Tails? Like they've been gone for a while." And then it cuts back over to Knuckles, who is watching the Death Egg come up over the horizon. And he goes, "I don't like that."
That's not good. It's like
Yeah.
there's things I don't like, and then there's that, and I really don't like that.
So, uh, the if for some reason he uses a bunch of like old badniks and just drops a bunch of burrobots on top of the chaotix because they're trying to find the Master Emerald. And much like in the plot of Sonic and Knuckles, the Death Egg kind of lands on top of Angel Island. They're trying to just kind of suck out all of the energy of the island to try to get those emeralds. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, it's like a laser in reverse.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so we're actually doing some of the plot from the games that we kind of skipped over because we do some stuff from 2, we do some stuff from 3, and we all just kind of package it together in Quest. It's unironically one of the few times in which I'm actually very glad to see them go back to the games. And it's like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, we missed this part. Uh, but besides that, chapter like issue 2 is another silver kind of, but
yeah,
it's an enjoyable silver and it almost reaches into the gold at points. It's just that there isn't
yeah,
too much that happened in issue 2 to make me really want to bend in that direction. Besides,
yeah.
Tails is now like up onto the bridge, and he's just like, I hope nobody notices the fact that I have just dented armor. I was like, okay, I think we're all
I'm
good.
pretty sure that's a commonplace thing in Robotnik's army,
Yeah.
so I don't think it will get him in too much trouble.
So issue 3 of Sonic Quest is the very like the second you see it, you go, oh, we are just straight up doing Sonic and Knuckles. Okay, it's like literally the poster for it. Not to be confused with Sonic 3, because if you don't know, you have Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, which is the second half of Sonic 3 that they had to kind of cordon off and release later because it wasn't done yet. So technically these two games can be played at different times, but most people just connect Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles together to make Sonic 3 and Knuckles. So most people know of this as the plot of Sonic 3, but it's Sonic and Knuckles technically. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I guess so." Uh okay. So Tails using some of the abilities of the SWATbot's outfit is neat. I actually really like it because it's starting to show Tails' bent towards jury rigging like machinery to kind of figure out how it works. And it really does sort of start to put Tails into this sort of more mechanical mindset. So he's a lot more useful in battle. And I kind of
Well, it
like it.
moves him from small child to like Robotnik's mental equal, which
Yeah,
is where he winds up finding himself.
comparatively to his depiction in Mecha Madness, I really love Mecha Madness, but Mecha Madness sets Tails up to be kind of like still a kid. Sonic Quest basically says, no, Tails is actually pretty competent nowadays. And it's very interesting to kind of see him hold his own against a Robotnik in the metal suit.
Yeah,
Uh, I need to remember exactly which one this is, but there's a moment where Sonic is like, okay, I need to get around this SWAT bot, and he starts taking out Tails, and he's like, oh whoops, sorry, I forgot about that. And he then goes to attack Robotnik, and he just slams straight into plexiglass, and he goes, oh, that's awkward. And then Sonic is like, no, poison gas, my old foe, as he's just like drowning in toxic gas. And I'm like, and Robotnik's just like not saying anything.
worth commenting about because he's talking, but he's just monologuing at Sonic while he
Yeah,
dies
but then
instead of trying to make it faster.
but then Tails uses the opportunity to go out around the side of the building and smash through the eye of the Death Egg, which is the way that he's like where he's stationed, and it happens so fast that I go like, wait, what? And it goes, oh, he just basically flew around the outside. Okay, which is a very funny way to deal with the problem. Where it's like, wait, are you
Yeah, because
saying?
even if the SWAT bot can't do it, Tails can sure fly.
Yeah, and Robotnik makes a tactical retreat, which also causes Angel Island to stop descending by the sheer weight of the Death Egg, which keeps getting more and more oblong with like each time we see it, and it's very
Oh
disconcerting.
yeah, I'm I'm waiting for it just to become a pencil at this point.
and Robotnik basically sits into like his escape pod mechanism, and he goes, "Okay, so I'm gonna really enjoy watching you two suffer. I'm gonna release Silver Sonic into the room as two pairs of doors get wrenched and folded like clay out of the way of a giant metal Sonic that is called Silver Sonic. In the game, he's
I
actually called,
forgot he was this far back in the comics.
yeah,
I thought we were going to see him for a little bit.
he is called he is called Mecha Sonic in the game. This is technically Mecha Sonic Mark II, but
Mm-hmm.
Mecha Sonic in the comics is again a robot-sized Sonic. So we will refer to this particular non-metal Sonic, robotic Sonic, as Silver Sonic. You can tell he's Silver Sonic because he is silver metallic or a steel blue. Not really the classic like metal Sonic design. And it's like, oh, okay. And it's like, well, this is based off of the scans that we took of you from way back when you were roboticized. This is basically you, but big, and he has your powers. And it's like, okay, so what does he do? He grabs Sonic by the leg and just slams him into walls. I was like, that's.
He tries to Hulk him.
I was like, that's
He
not
tries to
very.
turn him into Loki.
Yeah, and then immediately, like after like being on screen for 2 pages, there's a full page spread of him being electrocuted by a loose wire, and he's taken out. I was like, well, that's.
Wow, Robotnik really doesn't build him like he used to.
Yeah. And he goes, well, I guess we're going to plan E. And then Robotnik like goes behind a changing screen, and he comes out in the dumbest looking armor I've ever seen. Where, or
He
he's
looks like the Death Egg.
yeah, he's wearing an exoskeleton, as he calls it, which allows him to fly and like move around at like really fast speed, which unironically is actually a really good way to explain why he's able to run away from Sonic at the end of Sonic 2. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I guess that would be a way he would do that." Huh. And he's just got this exoskeleton skeleton suit, and he comes out into the main room to fight Sonic, and now Silver Sonic is still standing up, and he goes, "Wait, what's going on?" And Sonic goes, "Well, I got into this giant robot, and now I'm piloting him. So I'm gonna just start beating you up with Silver Sonic." And Eggman goes, huh, you know, I didn't see this coming, as they start having a fist fight between exoskeleton Robotnik and Silver Sonic being piloted by Sonic. And I'm just sitting there going, I'm just astounded by everything I'm seeing. It's not good, but I'm just astounded.
It can't be fun, so I'm having fun.
And Tails is like, I activated the self destruct. We need to get out of here. And it's like, oh, okay. I was like, how long do we have? 20 seconds? Minutes. Oh. It's like, yeah, I didn't want to just like set a timer and then we have to like bolt out of here. I gave us a little bit of time to escape. What do you think I am? I'm like, you know what? Fair.
Yeah.
But even though like
I mean,
Tails is
Robotnik's
like,
gone already, so
yeah, I do kind of like the fact that even though Tails is drawn as being like super nervous and still very childish, nothing he's saying is like, "Oh, I'm cowardly. I don't know what's going on. I need help." He's scared but competent, which is a
mm-hmm.
really great show of maturity for Tails. Like, which is actually a really great thing that we have not seen a lot of with him. Especially when he and Sonic are like getting out of the Death Egg, and Tails like very quickly like gets into like fly mode, grabs Sonic and gets them out of there. While they are on the way out, they grab an entire like box of of magic rings from the inside of it that they could find, and they just let the death egg explode, which then rains a bunch of mechanical parts all over this mountainside, which clearly is not going to have any adverse effects
No,
and never show up later
clearly
again.
not.
Not a
Yep.
single piece of technology will be found later and be used as a crucial plot element. Nope, not at all.
Nope. None siree.
So one of my favorite like little subplots, one of my favorite parts about that was earlier in this was Snively named it Snivopolis, and the narrator is sitting there and he calls it Robotropolis, and then one of the robots corrects the narrator and he goes, "Okay, I'll change that. Okay, Snivopolis is going through this." And it goes, "Wait, is the narrator diegetic?" Or it's like, which is very funny because later on, when he refers to it as Snivopolis as Robotnik is parachuting back in, he's like, "What?" It's like, you renamed it already?
I was
It's like,
only gone for like a half an hour.
and a Robotnik in his destroyed exoskeleton drops into his office, lands in his chair, and he goes, "Okay, now to find Snively." As Snively is just like stuck to his back, and he goes, "I
Yeah.
do not want to move. I think being found might be worse than being stuck right here." As they kind of end on like a funny note, and
Yeah.
that's kind of where Sonic Quest ends. It's oddly I actually really liked the last issue. I actually gave it a gold in my notes. Like, it isn't really anything special, and I was almost tempted to give parts 1 and 2 gold just because of 3. But at the same time, there's this weird progression as Sonic Quest goes on that I actually really enjoyed the build up to the third issue. And I'm guessing you just gave all of them equally just like silver, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I gave him silvers.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. It's I personally really liked Sonic Quest. And I'm sitting there, I was like, wait a second, we're missing something. And I was like, sat there, I looked back through my notes, I'm like, hey, Sonic editors, you kind of lied about this one thing. Where is this? Where is the other part of this story that was supposed to be here? And that was immediately answered in the very next issue, which is Sonic issue 42.
Yep.
So the cover has Sally doing a very strange pose, and Tails looks like he's just about to be hit by a car. But besides that, I think the cover has like kind of like a neat like action, like we're running to adventure type of thing. The
Yeah.
cover looks weird, but I kind of like it.
Yeah. It's not the most offensive cover. And at least the eyes are proportional. So there's that.
So Sonic 42 literally starts with Sonic and Knuckles fighting each other as Knuckles just goes, "Why the heck did you drop Robotnik's big giant ship on top of us?" And he's like, "I didn't do that." And I was like, "You could have stopped it." And all of the editing notes is, just so you know, this is going right off of Sonic Quest. You're gonna have way too many. You're gonna have a lot of footnotes saying, "Hey, this was all in Sonic Quest 1 and 2 for backstory." Just read the miniseries; that will get you caught up. And again, it's why Sonic Quest honestly should have not have even been a miniseries. It should have just been
Yeah.
a. It should have been a super special like Mecha Madness, but at the same time, seeing Sonic Quest and then having like Sonic and Knuckles posing with the Death Egg behind them as like one whole like uh big issue would have actually been like a little bit more interesting. having it be a miniseries, I think, kind of ruined it. But it definitely gave it more time to breathe, at least. So, uh,
Yeah.
so I'm not sure if we've heard this name before, but Kent Taylor on script, and we have Mawini again on art, which is kind of nice to see their art style come back again. Uh, it's not at it's halfway between like the darker looking like Sonic stuff from the In Your Face special and the more like cartoony like very first issues. And honestly, I feel like if Sonic kept this sort of vibe like the whole time, I would not be opposed to it. But whenever I see Mawini's art, I just think, yep, this is classic Sonic Archie stuff. So
Yeah.
so after kind of battling with Knuckles and trying to get them to see their ways, they kind of leave without any sort of like real anything to like show for it. And now that they're back with Sally, they're like, okay, here's all the rings we got. We could not get an emerald from Knuckles because Knuckles will not give up his extra emerald for whatever reason. And that's about it. And then Chuck shows up going, okay, so we tried using the rings and nothing has changed. And he goes, so what's left? And Sally produces a decree about the Crown of Acorn. And I'm like, oh, you mean the thing from like way back in the miniseries? And they're like, yeah, but the beginnings miniseries is not really canon, so we can't really go off of that. So even though there was another Crown of Acorns, let's just say that one was a ceremonial one, and the one he's wearing is also a ceremonial one. So let's just ignore all that. And it's like, okay. So we have a third Crown of Acorns. Cool. Let's what's about this one? Is like this one's actually magical. Oh? It's like, yeah, it's like forged from a ring or something. It's like, okay. Uh
Well, probably the headpiece that goes around the head is probably a magic ring.
yeah. And it's like, well, what does it even do? And it's like, um,
We didn't come up with that part yet. It's just magic. It's a
yeah.
MacGuffin.
And they're like, okay,
It can save the king or whatever.
yeah. And so Sonic, Sally, and Tails head their way to the final ring location that they know for sure has not been like tainted or drained or whatever. It's this lake of rings that is out in the middle of nowhere. And on the way over, they are they're over there, and Sleuth shows up, going, "Okay, so we kind of have a problem. A lot of the spy network got taken down, and basically none of us are left." And it's like, how did that happen? And Sleuth goes, because I betrayed them. Oh,
Off-screen betrayal.
yeah. So Sleuth calls in a now roboticized Fly Freddy as he's just like shooting lasers down onto them. And Sonic is like taking out all these SWAT bots as Sleuth is like doing like a weird evil laugh in the background as he then gets taken out by Bunny.
Yeah.
And it's like, "Oh, you're here." It's like, "Yeah, I was here on patrol. Did did you not remember I was here on patrol?" It's like, "No, we haven't seen you in like a few days or something." I was like, "Where have you and Antoine been?" It's like, don't worry about that."
We
And,
got really lost in the woods. Don't no one read into how lost in the woods we were.
uh and there's this kind of a cool panel where Sonic is like running over like SWATbot's heads because he sees the ring pop up out of the lake, just like it does in uh, Sat AM. As he goes to dive, and you just see a reticle just slam on top of him, going, "Uh oh." As like Sonic's about to be taken out, but then like at the last minute, Knuckles slams in the Fly Freddy to like knock him back down to the ground. And Knuckles actually says something kind of funny. Uh, as they're all just like, it's like, yeah, you're here just in time, and he goes, might I remind you, we're in the middle of battle. Can we not do a comedy bit right now? I was like, fine.
Hmm.
Which is kind of a great little moment for Knuckles because, as everyone knows, Knuckles does not chuckle. So
No.
Sonic then uses a new ability we've never seen before, but uh, Sonic. Okay, let's just put it this way:
Uses his new arms technique.
Sonic, for all intents and purposes, is a wind elemental. Let's just let's just lay it like that. Knuckles, for all intents and purposes, is Earth elemental lined, and then Tails, even though he does fly, he's more associated with fire and electricity later. The reason why I state this is because I was talking to someone about the dichotomy between the main three Sonic characters and their robotic counterparts, which I actually found was kind of interesting. Because Metal Sonic is water aligned because he's very like instead of being fast, he's very like not fast in terms of distance, but he's very slippery in terms of like how to actually get a handle on him. So he's actually like well designed against like Sonic being able to get up to him in close range. And then you have Mecha Knuckles, which doesn't show up too often, but as we kind of saw when Knuckles was roboticized, he's more of an electric entity, which which is kind of neat. Conversely, like using the power of magnets instead of the power of just pure strength. And then you have Tails Doll, which is an
Is an
anti-gravity bat.
SCP.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tails Doll has anti-grav tech. So instead of just like flying in place, he actually controls the gravity around him, which is a lot more interesting than I originally thought that he had. Which explains why he could just like levitate and like kind of float there to kind of mimic the way that Tails flies a bit. But in a way, he also kind of uses wind as an element. So it's kind of neat how they all kind of just like rotate elements almost. And I was kind of reminded of this when uh, Sonic like grabs his fists and just kind of whirls them in circles and creates mini tornadoes to kind of just like pick up all of the SWAT bots and stuff like that.
I love how he conveniently has these abilities when he needs them, and then he doesn't use them.
So we're gonna just ignore the art mistake where Knuckles' arms are pink for some reason, but Knuckles
Yeah,
pull
he's got Sonic arms for a moment.
yeah, he pulls out the spare emerald that he had and he goes, "Okay, don't ask me for anything ever again. Here you go." And then Sally is like, "I am going to ask you for so many more things. Don't worry."
It's like Sonic won't ask you for anything. Just know the commands come from me.
So
Because
to
Knuckles is far more willing to help Sally out than he ever is to help Sonic out.
so to kind of summarize what happened, Uncle Chuck basically figured out that there was a double agent in the spy network, considered all of them rogue
But he,
agents,
yeah.
and contacted Knuckles on an untraceable line. And there's something so funny about Uncle Chuck wearing a pair of headphones that I don't know
Oh
why, but
yeah,
the
it's
art
just
is just really funny.
oh
Uh,
yeah, especially when he's a robot and shouldn't need them.
they connect King Acorn up to the Emerald, not the Master Emerald, just a regular Emerald, and he starts becoming more of an Emerald, and it's like, that's not good. So it's like, okay, Sonic, what's else? Sonic then says, stand back, everyone. It's been a long time since I've called on the Ring of Knowledge, the Ring for Knowledge. And Sonic then gets, like, astral projected, like, thoughts into his head somehow?
Information.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
what the heck is this, Sonic? Like, what is this? I've never seen this before. And he goes, okay, so, King's Royal Sword. There's a magical link to the crown. It will lead to it. We just don't know where the sword is, and we don't know where the crown is, and we kind of need it. And Knuckles goes, okay, so I will work with you as a personal favor to the king. I promise not to let you down, Sally. It then immediately,
Sally specifically,
yeah,
because she might lose her dad again, and Knuckles can empathize with your father being dead, and while his dad is surely alive, is surely dead, and Knuckles feels really strongly about that. He doesn't want Sally to go through it twice. Man, it'd be really ironic as if Knuckles' dad was still alive in the background.
yeah. Very funny how the even the editor's box basically goes, shh, don't tell Knuckles. And it's like, yeah,
Don't
sure.
tell Knuckles the plot has its eyes on him.
So we then get into the B side, which then leads into the Knuckles series, which is fast approaching us, as
And
I just kind of realized.
yeah,
Uh,
and you can bet that where Knuckles is concerned, as a main character, Ken Penders is surely on staff.
so Tails and Knuckles kind of teams up as Tails is like, okay, so we gotta find um Uthair and figure out where he is. All we have to do is just track him back down to where I saw him in Down Under. And Knuckles is like, okay, I don't really know how this is gonna work, but sure, let's just meet up with him. And the first thing he does when he sees Altair, is he immediately goes aggro and goes, so why have you been here this whole time when I've been alone for like most of my childhood? And Altair, in his
No,
very cryptic manner, goes, shut up.
I don't need to answer to a child.
We are then gonna
Speak to your elder correctly.
uh Altair then sends them to the Doctor Strange brain dimension, uh
That's exactly where they go.
in which the ancient walkers, for the first time, show up in their big head forms, which they will then take for the entire rest of the series. We will never see them
Yep.
in their actual physical body ever again.
Oh, it's so sad. They were just little guys. They were just funny little guys, and I loved them. And now they're giant heads, and it's not quite as fun.
They then tell Tails and Knuckles specifically, do you want to know where the king's sword is? Yes. And he goes, okay, so you need to find a sorcerer, a wizard, an alchemist, a charlatan, an enchantress, and a paladin. Good luck. Because, what? And then he just drops them off, and Knuckles is like, okay, I guess we got places to go and people to see. Let's go beat people up. And there we go.
I love I love Knuckles takes this as okay, so we run the boss gauntlet and then we got the sword afterwards. As Tails is just like so we have a path and after we talk to all these guys, it should be all right. And Knuckles is planning on busting heads immediately.
So I forget half of these people's names, but as I was kind of going through them, I looked down and I went, "Hey Tails, isn't that your uncle?" Shh, don't say that part yet. And it's like, oh,
We
okay.
haven't come up with that quite yet. Don't
So
tell Tails that he still has family.
and I'm pretty sure
That's
the
not a
paladin
shot
is
against
also
Sally.
Sir Connery as he appears later. He's just in disguise now. But
Yeah.
yeah, these
Uh-huh.
out of these six characters, I believe only about like, well, besides the two that we named, I think only one other of these characters really stick around for like a large portion of the story. And it's kind of
Yeah.
funny how it's like, oh yeah, these are the six most important people that you know, They are all magical based, and because we are now shifting over to a magical series to combat against Robotnik's evil that is a technological base, you now need to get stronger through magical means. And I go, okay, let's see how well this holds out. And oddly enough, this last little bit pushed 42 into gold territory for me because I kind of like the fact that for the first time in the Sonic comic, we have an actual plan of action of how we're going to actually go forward. And it's like, wow, we actually have a quest line now. That's cool. Weird that it took 40 chapters before we actually got to this point, but sure. Now we're here. What did you give
Yeah,
this issue?
I gave it a very high silver.
Fair enough. Uh,
It was a good it was a good issue. You know,
yeah,
as we've often said here, silvers are not worse than golds. They're just perfectly fine issues, and this was a perfectly fine issue. I liked it from start to end. I have no complaints about it. Um, I think it was so high up probably because Joffrey didn't show up. Like he tends to be baggage. Like there's actual stakes in this one. You know, Knuckles is a character in this. He's got motive. He's not just showing up for no reason. You know, he's here to help people. And Tails got to do something.
yeah, and I think the
And
most
I always
important.
love it when Tails gets to do things.
It's very
Because
funny.
when he's involved and he's on his game, he's on it.
Yeah, it's very funny because we sometimes forget when I sometimes forget when reading these issues that out of all the characters, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles needs to be the main characters because they're the characters from the actual games. Sally might be the princess, and there's very interesting things that happen with Rotor, Bunny, and Antoine. But at the end of the day, at, like Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles needs to be on top of their game because they're the actual main characters from the series. And whenever I remember that and I see the B side specifically, I'm like, yeah, we are now doing it. We are now actually on the way to we are actually on our way to have these characters do something. And if
Yeah.
I were to not really think about like if I were to put myself into this moment, like Sonic 3 and Knuckles came out, and after playing the games, I had gotten caught up with where the comics are right now, and I've read this issue. My initial thought is that since Tails is shown with the plane and Sonic is the main character and he runs fast, clearly Knuckles is going to get some magical powers out of this, right?
Or he
And
should get something.
yeah, it's like they can't just and disconnecting it from the games themselves, I do kind of like how they kind of set up the fact that Knuckles is going to be a lot more important going on, and he's not going to just have like his own like thing in the background for too much longer. And it's like, okay, we should treat Knuckles as a second main character from this point forward. Okay, got it. And
Because he is.
and everything about Quest has told me that Tails is just as valid of a main character now as Sonic. So we
And
can't
he's
just.
about to get more valid. The more things he puts into his toolbox, the more things he can do, the more tricks he's got up his sleeve. Like the better of an intermediate foil he is between Sonic and Knuckles.
Yeah. And I think that's it. I think I think that's basically all we had.
Yeah,
Was there anything you wanted to say?
there's no these chapters are pretty much straightforward. There's not a lot of extraneous details that happen to them. It's just plot points, which is good. It's what we want.
Yeah. See all y'all next week, I guess. Maybe a little bit
Right.
longer. Who knows? We might have to start taking a few breaks in a bit, but we will
Yeah.
try to at least get further into the series at some point.
Yeah. There will be updates.
Yeah. See all y'all next time. Goodbye, everybody.